Hey guys, welcome back to the Human Condition. This video is another video in our biology brain chemical series. So this one is, someone had a great idea, so shout out to the guy, or whoever the person was, who said I should do an arrow villains brain chemicals. What brain chemicals represent arrow villains? Or what arrow villains represent brain chemicals? I think that's the title for this video. So it's a little tough because it's been a while since I saw Arrow, but I think I remember some bits and pieces, and I did a little research beforehand, if I'm being honest. But that combined with the together has helped me. I think I'm gonna do all 8 villains from all 8 seasons of Arrow. So shout out to that person who suggested Arrow villains. That was an awesome idea. So yeah, you're watching this. So Season 1, we're first introduced to Malcolm Merlyn. Malcolm Merlyn is the main antagonist of all of Arrow, and he's definitely the main antagonist of Season 1. Basically, Malcolm Merlyn, I feel like, especially in Season 1, not including all the other scenes, is a good representation of dopamine, for this part at least, because he's more self-oriented, and self-serving, and kind of gives into impulsiveness. And most of the characters in these 8 seasons who seek vendettas and are self-serving, I'd give dopamine. However, the reason I said Season 1 is because he recurs through multiple seasons. So with his plan to like upscale the Glades and destroy the Glades, I definitely think that was pretty brutal, pretty self-serving, and how he manipulated Moira Queen, I feel like, in the first season, if I'm not mistaken. So I feel like he definitely at least represent dopamine, the idea of self-oriented, self-serving, and gives into one's desires and impulses. However, Malcolm Merlyn's, I know this may be controversial, but Malcolm Merlyn's overall brain chemical I would associate with is oxytocin, which is the love hormone and caring hormone. And the reason I say this is because even though throughout most of seasons, or at least especially Season 1, he seems self-serving, and is like revenge oriented, and like, which would be characterized by dopamine. He does give up his life to save Thea, and since he did this, I think if I'm not mistaken, it was on Lian Yu. There was a landmine, and she stepped on it, and he took her place. If he didn't do this, he'd definitely be dopamine. However, since he did this, I would say Malcolm Merlyn is not the best example of oxytocin, loving and caring. But if there's a negative version, right, more brutal version, he would be example of oxytocin, the negative version. Also in this video, I thought it'd be interesting, just to spice things up, to give up, to share what most videos I do the positive versions of oxytocins, but in this video I might do what negative versions of oxytocin. So the negative traits of this would also be, for this would be type of personality. So villains that have that embody oxytocin would probably be ones who are very emotional and very emotionally caring, but are emotionally like manipulative, kind of, in a way. And the type that would, it was just kind of wholesome, that like take down the world to save the ones closer to them, which is kind of wholesome in the way, but they're also taking down the world. So it's kind of like, tough to say. But basically, those are the types of villains that I feel like best represent oxytocin. Would be the villains who, are loving, caring, and let their emotions get the best of them. Would definitely be, so any character like that, especially villains, would be oxytocin. In Season 2, we're introduced to Slade. Slade also has a personal vendetta, and Slade is infected by Mirakuru, I think that's what it's called. And that being said, he's slowly starting to kind of lose sense with reality, sadly. It's a shame because Oliver and Slade were like really close back in Lian Yu. We see the character progression of Slade becoming more kind of self-oriented, selfish, I guess, in a way you could say, and more kind of brutal, and losing touch with reality in a way, that towards the end of Season 2. by trying to take his army of Slades and invade Star City. So Slade, how I said Malcolm kind of represented dopamine in the first season. Slade in this season, in the beginning of his season, would represent dopamine, but as the Mercurius started to mess with his perception of reality, I feel like by the end of the season he didn't care about anything. He just he lost himself, and because of that, I feel like if I remember correctly, I feel like he kind of lost his touch with reality at the end of the season, unless I'm mistaken, unless they pulled him out of it. But in that being said, that's the case. I feel like he'd best represent adrenaline, which is the brain chemical in most of my videos where I'm talking about like heroes. It'd be like someone that's so very aggressive and very hostile as a hero, but as a villain, it'd be someone who's extremely hostile and might have lost all care about and reason behind what they do, just kind of doing what they do because they lost their sense of self-preservation. They don't even care about their own survival because they've kind of focused so much on a particular goal to achieve. Season 3, I feel like this was the one I thought was a really good one to associate one brain chemical with. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong with this one, but I feel like this is a good one for Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul, norepinephrine represents, in my other videos, I talk about more like in a positive way, I guess, but since this is the villains video, it's a little bit more in a negative way. But norepinephrine, similar to dopamine, the chemical of motivation. So I feel like Ra's al Ghul is a very motivated person. Norepinephrine, I often associate people who don't want to take orders and listen to rules. However, the reason I say Ra's al Ghul was norepinephrine because he's so orderly that I feel like he falls in norepinephrine. And the reason being is I feel like he follows rules that are already set, but he doesn't take orders from other people, if that makes sense. Like, he cannot be persuaded, and most of the time, people that do have our norepinephrine, unlike dopamine, I associate with people who are motivated, but less self-serving, more motivated for noble causes. And even though his cause to destroy Star City because it's corrupt, I mean, there is some validity to it. Not saying that he's right in believing it, but there was a lot of crime in Star City. I mean, to be fair, kind of like Gotham in a way, in my opinion. So I mean, low key, nah, it's good. But I feel like since he did it with an intent of trying to be good, even though it was really, really messed up, he would be norepinephrine because he was highly motivated, couldn't listen to other people's reasoning behind it, believed his reasoning was morally applicable. So because of this, he'd be the good embodiment of norepinephrine as a villain. Season 4, we're introduced to Damien Darhk. I feel like a lot of these I'm going to use similar brain chemicals because certain brain chemicals have positive traits, but I feel like they're more associated with negative traits, like in my other videos, like dopamine and adrenaline. However, every once in a while I'll throw in a curveball like oxytocin and norepinephrine. But in this season with Damien Darhk, I feel like he'd be the good embodiment of adrenaline, and here's why. Damien Darhk, I know in definitely DC's Legends Tomorrow, he's very caring about his daughter Nora. However, if I remember correctly, in this one he's a little less sympathetic towards Nora, especially when she's little. For example, he wanted to destroy all of Earth with a nuclear bomb called Genesis and build an underground society where people he chose got to live there. And because of this, you'd think he'd be dopamine because that's a very self-serving thing. However, at the very end, when his plan goes awry, he doesn't give up on it. He just, I feel like he's willing to go down with the nukes, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. And he's willing to go down with his daughter if I remember correctly. She's not with him at the time, but he knows she's in the blast radius. And because his plan failed, he still wanted to go through with it. Luckily, they stopped the nukes before they went off, but his lack of regard of changing his idea, even for his self-preservation, goes past dopamine, in my opinion, of self-orientedness, and more towards adrenaline of pure kind of anger. At least in Arrow, even though he's pretty funny, a pretty funny character, and you kind of like him because of his humor, and you dive deeper into his character in DC Legends of Tomorrow. Season 6 would be Ricardo Diaz. This one was easy, at least in my opinion. He would definitely be Dopamine because he's master of manipulation. I feel like Dopamine, at more negative traits, would be someone who's great at manipulating to get what they want. Very impulsive and very self-oriented. And Ricardo Diaz is the first villain who doesn't just have like a major moral sense of obligation or a sense of a great plan, but rather self-preservation and building an empire, criminal empire in a way, in Star City, and taking over with crime, being like a crime lord, and he's all about moving up and achieving based on his own personal desires. I skipped Prometheus. Well, I'll go back to season 5. This is season 6. But he's so focused on his self-orientedness, and he takes over the quadrant by taking out a member, but he really wants us to grow in the criminal world, and he sees Oliver as a threat that needs to be neutralized because of it. So he's definitely a good embodiment of dopamine. Season 5, Prometheus. Prometheus is like a lot of these characters with vendettas and self-serving, which could be considered dopamine. However, at the end, when they're on Lee and Yu, he blows it up, and he's not even afraid about his own death, I don't think. And even Oliver's at the point where he almost executes him, but he doesn't, because he's really good at Prometheus was really good at manipulation as well. However, manipulating Oliver's mind and controlling he's always one step ahead of Oliver, controlling all of Oliver's moves and manipulating him the entire season, kind of. But he, at the end, kind of doesn't even care about his own self-preservation if Oliver executes him, if I remember correctly. He doesn't even care if Oliver does that or not. And because of that, he'd be the embodiment of adrenaline, which is aggressiveness and pure anger for a villain, at least. So that was season 5, Prometheus. Season 6 was Ricardo Diaz. Season 7, Emiko Queen. Emiko Queen is another dopamine, and the reason I say she's dopamine, not oxytocin, even though she was loving kind of towards the end where she was about to die by the Ninth Circle, if I'm not mistaken, she tells Oliver Queen to leave with Felicity and take care of their kid, because at this season Felicity, I think, is pregnant with Mia in season 7. So that would kind of be loving and caring, but it was right when she was about to, although, I'll say oxytocin, because there's that makes you think that actually, this might be out of pocket, but now that I think about it, she might be serotonin, because in her last moment she was optimistic for Oliver to live life with Felicity, and I associate serotonin with my positive characters, with optimism and keeping the group together. And she's optimistic for, even though she's not going to make it, she's optimistic for Oliver's future and his life with Felicity in her last moments. And she kind of keeps them together by encouraging Oliver to go and take care of Felicity and their kid on the way that she's pregnant with, Mia. So I actually give Emiko Queen serotonin, which I didn't think I was going to, but I feel like I could definitely give her serotonin, because at least she was optimistic in the last few moments. Similar how Prometheus was pure anger in the last few moments. And then number 8, the Anti-Monitor, or Mobius. He obviously would be Adrenaline because he's trying to crush the entire world. Although, he lives at the end of the entire world with nothing else existing. So actually, even though he's very angry, he does care about his own self-preservation, where he would live where all other universes are destroyed, being on the crisis of infinite Earths. So I feel like the Anti-Monitor, or Mobius, would actually be Dopamine because of the self-preservation aspect. So yeah, these are all 8 main villains in Arrow. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry if I kind of talked too fast, but I just wanted to make sure I didn't make the video too long. But for the person that recommended this video, I hope you like this. Also, if you guys have any videos you recommend, I love hearing recommendations, and I try to do my best to, if you guys suggest a video topic, to do those videos. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, thanks again for watching. Like and subscribe if you want. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.